I think it was. We just never saw it. Because we did see it once or twice. Anyway.
And it's going to be the side of Nova MS attacking first, Cyclone coupling on the defense with the Sombra Goats, the Sombra 3-3 comp. 1-2-3 if you like here. Nova running a decent amount of DPSs, maybe expecting a bunker.
Might have been the season before. Memory fails me, but you're dead right. You're seeing that. Oh, all right, brilliant catch. And that's, I mean, this is probably the beginning of the end for Cyclone coupling. Nova MS just looks super comfortable on this quad DPS with the 2 snipers.
And what you want to see from Cyclone coupling is, okay, if you are maybe slowly losing this fight now, you're looking for respawners, maybe still contesting the point just a little bit, you still need ult charge on your Sombra. You need to see Lee Jensen really work his way up to an EMP.
GCGG is back already and back on a Moira as well, which means they're able to keep Fallen chopped off, but it feels like eventually something's got to give, right? The damage, the pressure just becomes too mounting. They found a tick already, and even when Cyclone coupling try to move out to push these members of Nova MS back, they leave themselves exposed to risk going down, which is exactly what happened to Jackie, and that opens the floodgates.
So this is going to be now Nova MS, okay, seeing the flank there.
Sick.
It's going to be a free rocket barrage with them, possibly even expecting Silent to change as we head into B. Cyclone coupling have the opportunity to say, could we run something like a Widowmaker to go up against Silent? You're in a very open space now. Back in Hollywood, you do need to see high ground control, which is why the Winston is going to get played by Fallen now. And you also have Nova MS pushing in decent ult advantage, early positioning, early damage by Shailin.
Shailin wants not of that swap, you say, so gets raised straight back into the action, and ooh. I was going to say this is where we can see the Pharah do a lot of work. We're in the streets, there's a lot of mobility on these DPSs, a lot of open space to get picks. What we're actually going to see is a pause.
And you have no reason, if you are on the side of Nova MS as well, you're Shailin, you're playing this Pharah. Usually, okay, you're expecting there's probably going to be the Ryan 3-3 on the ground on the opposing side, especially on the A defense. It was mostly that with the fact that there was a Sombra involved as well, but Technical kind of wasn't in a position where he can do much against specifically Shailin. Even if he gets the hack onto Shailin, you have to have a team. You have to have a team that can immediately jump on top of that kill, immediately get into the mix to be able to shut him down. Moving into B, I think that's going to be even more difficult. Yes, they have a Winston now; they can probably jump in, but they still don't have a very clear-cut way to deal with Shailin.
Yeah.
And this is going to be a composition where, throughout both A and B, if the defensive team doesn't have a direct answer, and you have a good fire plate, which you do, you're going to be able to possibly steamroll through both A and B, eventually change onto C, and have a decent amount of time to work with to make sure you get the full cap.
This is also Nova MS choosing to not just, match goats to goats. It's not the plain 3-3 goats. There is the Sombra in there, at least there was on the A defense. They might change it up. They might, I don't see why they should, but at any rate, who's to say? But the point is, it's that asymmetric kind of approach, and I'm glad that we're seeing this at the top of the season. I feel like it's already been pretty well established that you can play against both traditional 3-3 and Sombra Goats without just playing it yourself in some situations. Seeing Nova MS doing it honestly quite comfortably is pretty exciting. Now, part of that is also Cyclone Coupling's own tightness of playing those compositions themselves, but even so, this is so good for Nova MS. You'd like to say that this isn't just purely Cyclone Coupling's failings.
And I think you have to, well, Cyclone Coupling are also not giving themselves the best chance to win, which is the thing that I'm really going to have issue with here, because we go back to the poll, you see that the standard 3-3 versus the Ana composition, okay, that's the Ana 12 composition, that's a correct sort of comp play to make against. You start to see some really poor decisions later on. They have the dive versus the bunker, which ends up working for them, but off the back of, a decision made on Nova MS's side, which would, in this case, would be Shailin just running in and saying, I'm going to play only on the ground and never fly again, right? You have to wait for Nova MS to do something really silly to really kind of capitalize when you shouldn't. But comparatively to last season, you look at Cyclone Coupling from last season, they're a team that very much like Nova MS is showing now, that have a real width of compositions. They can play a lot of different picks, really deep hero pools, really wants to play the DPS as well. They've been building towards more of a standard pure 3-3 team. I wouldn't say pure 3-3 team. They believe that there was a weakness in the 3-3 side. I think that's quite apparent because there was, at least from my perspective. So building towards a better 3-3 team right now looks like it kind of costs them on the other side of, well, now you're going up against some good DPSs.
Yeah.
And maybe you can't counter that because you've kind of put yourself into this kind of 3-3 hole that you can't get out of.
And it's funny that it's kind of happened out. Like, I'm not saying that 3-3 is dead, like, not by any measure. It's still a thing, right? Obviously, but like it is waning, I think, is a relatively fair assessment, at least in this region. Like, it's not the be-all, end-all of compositions, and it's funny that Cyclone Coupling kind of spent so much of last season investing more and more into that direction to end up in this position now where you feel like if you transplanted the Cyclone Coupling of Season 3 2018 into, I mean, even this particular match right now, you'd feel like they should do better.
And that's, we can talk about strength of rosters as well. I do believe that was a super strong Cyclone Coupling that we saw back then. But even now, if you are going to be a team that wants to play more 3-3, which I think is a good way to go. That's a very safe way to play the game. You do also have to deal with teams that don't want to do that. And that was the majority of teams playing against Cyclone Coupling on the opposite side of things when we looked at that last season, even the season beforehand. Now you've got the shoe on the other foot, so to speak. Cyclone Coupling are the team that are going to be better in the 3-3s if they can find the mirrors. The problem is, in this particular matchup, Nova don't really want to give you those mirrors. If you want to force them onto the mirror, you have to first remove their DPS capability to then get the ground-based 3-3.
And I'll be completely honest as well. I wouldn't even be surprised if Nova MS on the mirror are still the better team because they are a really good team. But unfortunately, it's currently a Nova MS player who I believe is disconnected. That is the cause of the pause that we are currently experiencing. So,
yep. In fact, I would even say, based on how Nepal went, that Nova would be the better 3-3 mirror
you would
team.
imagine so,
because we talk about the GOAT's fundamentals, right? Even when they, in my opinion at least, had the worst comp on Shrine with the Torb again, specifically when they're playing that, they're still winning in scenarios where it's kind of 5 versus 6. Mui's off doing his own thing. You look at now pure GOAT's fundamentals where you're relying on your Rhines, your Brigida plays, your supports to really make things happen. Innens on the Ana as well. Really huge player for that team, specifically in that mirror, if he can land some really nice shots with the Bionade and all that. And he was, and the rest of the team, even in mostly a 5v6 scenario, based on the fact that they had the better teamwork, the better coordination in the 3-3 mirror, they were winning in that matchup as well. So really what we come to a conclusion of here is that it just really doesn't get easy no matter which way you kind of slice it for Cyclone Coupling, no matter what kind of matchup you have. It's pretty hard for them. And that's, I guess, kind of obvious because they are the underdog in this matchup.
Tell you what it gets me even more excited for, like more so than I already am, is actually the eventual showdown we'll get between
Hong Kong
Nova
versus
MS
Attitude
and Talon, because we're already seeing these very DPS-centric team compositions, as well as, the potential for the strong 3-3 fundamentals, which we know Talon have. And now this season, Talon have an absolute smorgasbord of strong DPS players. They've still got a Puto in the roster, obviously. Bashful, a very strong player. They've picked up Patapad. They themselves could actually run triple DPS type compositions if they want. They can run 2-2-2. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we hit week 7, these two teams finally play, and we just don't even see 3-3 at all.
And I think if you did, it would still be a really exciting match, no matter which way you slice it. You have a sort of game now where both teams can do very similar things. All right, you have a side where Mui, Shailen, and Nuns exist. Very strong 3 players, very strong 3 DPS players. Seeing them right now in this particular matchup really lean into that composition, playing a lot of triple, even quad DPS with Innen. That's someone that can, also really get onto the DPS picks as well, specifically on the Widowmaker. But Talon can do that. Talon can also put in their DPSs. If you're in this particular matchup right now, you see Shailen attacking with the Pharah. Patapan's probably here. If he's not here, Puto's probably there playing the Widow. Somebody's going to jump on a Widow, and Shailen's going to have to change almost immediately.
The only thing Talon do lack now is Innen's ability to play Widowmaker. That is the one shift, I would say, in Talon's potential to run team compositions. I know they're starting to get a little bit further and further away from this immediate matchup actually between Nova MS and Cyclone Coupling, but I mean, we're excited, right?
I think you'd see it from Gagora. That's the thing, because he'll jump on a trace or something like that. So it'll just be put in a different scenario. Instead of, it'll be, the DPS plus their flex tank, and I guess in this case it was already DPS and flex tank if you look at None specifically. So you'll need to see, them run all 3 of their DPS players and then also Gagora as their 4th DPS player, which would mean possibly one of the supports has to jump off, or maybe they don't play Muse, which would kind of have to shuffle their roster around a little bit. That's one thing that Nova can just do without shuffling the roster very much. In fact, I don't even know if Nexus is going to get much game time this season. Maybe if there's an easy game along the way and you can just kind of slide Nexus in there and see how he does. But Ting's a more veteran player, and you'd expect a Ting to get the majority of the games here.
And even if you want to run like really tank-heavy compositions, if you go down that route, you've got Shailin who can flex onto all kinds of tank-oriented picks. But we do have a bit of an update here. The clock has been set. There is now a 3-minute timer. If the player cannot return within that, then they will be forced to carry on the match 5 versus 6, which would be a bit of a heartbreaker for Nova
Honestly,
MS at this juncture. But I mean,
might still win.
I know, right? That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, do they just...
I think
they just win on like a hard mode right now?
I think it would be. It's obviously tough.
It's a doable.
It also
5
depends on
versus 6,
depends
right?
on who's down as well.
Yes.
Depends on who they lost.
Yes.
Because if it's one of the DPSs, well, you play one less DPS. Maybe it's whatever. If you lost your Ting, that might be a pretty big deal.
You're in trouble.
I don't know.
Even one of the supports you could maybe handle.
So it is hard. It is hard. You're permanently playing hard mode there.
Yeah.
You don't really have to get into the 5v6 discussion much, because we all know that's going to be tough. But it also kind of evens things out a little bit, because we also have seen Nova just that much better than Cyclone Coupling across the board in the series, and Hollywood not really looking too different so far, despite not seeing too much of Hollywood. We've also not seen too much of Hollywood because it's gone by very quickly.
Yeah, just vanishing before our eyes. I feel like I'm trying to like think of some kind of meta commentary joke about the old studio system in Hollywood, but I just can't think of one right now. But the history of Hollywood is long, interesting, and full of really, really slimy, greedy people. But with that, the pause is done. So we are back into it, and the timer runs out. So we have seen who they've lost. It's not the end of the world.
If they lost Burner here, so that's their main support gone, or in this case, their only support, they're going to have to just play with no supports, at least for the time being.
Yeah, probably see In and move.
Got to try and even that up a little bit.
Yeah. Once In's done fragging out, I should say, we'll probably see him move on to support.
Well, if In kills both the supports on the other side, it will be even.
Yeah, right? Well, at any rate, Nova MS, look, this is a bit of a spanner in the works. This slows them down, and it gives Cyclone Coupling a really big window, but they've also not actually got any kills with that window. Now they're winning. Tink pushes in, EMP's there. And I mean, part of this is just leaning into the advantage they'd already gained before the pause. The question now will be, how far can Nova MS take this?
And you do have to start seeing Cyclone Coupling maybe eventually get their players back in with the respawns. They've saved a decent amount of ults. EMP nearly coming to play again. Innings respawn.
Burner!
Still on the Widowmaker. Nope. Change on Soldier now. Burner is back in play, so things have come back to status quo.
I mean, that is so perfect, right? To still win that fight even in the 5 versus 6 just because of the advantage you racked up before that, and now you get Burner back in the mix as well.
And we didn't even talk about the fact that Shailin lost a Mercy partner there, at least for a little bit of time.
Yeah. Ooh, nice EMP though, really pulls the rug out from under Shailin. Fallen does go down to the counter trade, and Burner, once he's unhacked, could go in for a res on Shailin. This is Nova MS still kind of able to put some pressure forward if they want. They lose a Ting though. Payload has stopped for the time being.
And that's the thing, because the push has kind of paused here, you have Cyclone Coupling regaining control of the objective. Ultimates they've saved being thrown in. Self-destruct not going to get too much done.
Reserves the mech, at least for technical. They've got a Primal Rage to rotate into keeping good pressure on Shailin as well. So Nova MS kind of ground to a halt here.
And this is where for Lee Chang-soon really taking control of the skies in a way, where he realistically is the member that has to deal with Shailin for the most part. He has to kind of team up with technical in a 2v1. EMP now from Nuns.
Nuns has charged another one up, and with that, they just push on in, press the Q buttons, and open the floodgates. In gets a good amount of damage out of the tactical visor before going down, but the damage has been done, of course, and that means Nova MS back underway. Should be able to cap here.
And this is where you see Cyclone Coupling. Okay, they don't have the ults anymore. They won last time because they had the major ult advantage. At least they're winning fights they're supposed to win now. Yep. Nova MS still kind of recovering from that DC'd member. Now you're going back into the space where, once again, Nova MS, same as usual, pushing forward, easy does.
Oh, you're joking! I mean, getting one was good. Like, you often don't get anything out of the Dragon Strike these days. At best, you split the team up and maybe get some damage, but not a kill. To get 2, it's huge.
And he got kills on Molten Cores as well in Nepal. Usually you don't even see kills on that one. But
Who's
Nova,
to it tonight?
They're able to find these picks. They're able to continue forward. Lee Chang-soon now on the EMP, Cyclone Coupling, relying on maybe hook combos. You see Orisa Hog on the field.
Yeah.
And this is going to be where, okay, The fire shouldn't be working so well in this closed area anymore.
Tell you what, though, that's a pretty tasty EMP, and going to be able to ground, stun, and kill Shailin, finding nuns as well. Again, we talk about Cyclone coupling winning fights they should win. It's not over yet. There is a res on Shailin, who does have a rocket barrage, but for now, Nova MS have pulled back.
And the thing is, they technically win, but it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel like they're ahead. It doesn't feel like they're in control of the game.
In a 5-man EMP, you want more than that.
It feels like they've slowed down things ever so slightly, and now we're going to speed things back up.
Suddenly it's Nuns' turn to EMP. They get less numerically speaking, but they get a big pick and fall, and then the pressure is all there. Technical has to self-destruct to preserve the mech there and even just create some space for the team. They did find a Ting in the middle of that. Nice catch on Shailin. Li Changsoon really pulling out the stocks there. So this is where Cyclone coupling can start to push back around a little bit. The raise on GCGG, but Inin still outputting damage. Finally drops. Nova MS will have to back off here.
And you got to talk about the pick potential from both teams here. I got to say both, because despite being a whole hook combo plus Widowmaker inside of Cyclone coupling, it's Nova that are still in this. It's Nova that are still making trades happen.
They could have backed off, and they chose not to. It was risky, but it's ended up paying off. What they've instead done is put Cyclone coupling on the back foot.
Watch the
Who were
EMP.
maybe expecting Nova MS to back off. Suddenly Nova have kept the pressure on, and Cyclone coupling slowly but surely start to crumble.
Hey, Shailin's still on the fire, by the way. He dies to the Widow. He's saying, that doesn't matter. That was just a fluke. We're going back in. Jackie finds another kill, but that's going to be the only one he gets.
Inin's on his third DPS pick of Hollywood here. Maybe that's the movie. We're watching the Reaper show. Or the Inin show, I don't know. But at any rate, it's in its 77th season.
You're watching the gun show, because there's lots of DPS on play. And for Nova MS, I mean, this is just a show of brutality. And in the case where we said this, they probably should have backed off. And multiple times you're thinking, this looks like a lost fight now. They have major respawn disadvantages. They're so far away from their own respawn location. And that's the opposite for Cyclone coupling. They're directly at their base. They can get members back in to recontest super quick, but they just cannot get the kills. They cannot get the counter trades. And for Nova MS, come back on whatever they like. Doesn't matter what the matchup is. Hold the hook. Jackie's doing reasonably well in the hog, but if he's the only one getting picks and no one else from Cyclone coupling is able to help in that regard, they're not going to be able to win the defense, and they don't.
Speaking of winning defenses, it's pretty handsome time for Nova MS, especially when you consider they had a disconnect in the middle of that nonsense. So let's see if their defense can match up to their offense, and hey, maybe they even pull off something like a full hold. At any rate, they are well poised to at least secure the series. Whether they can turn that into a 4-0 will be another question again after that, but looking to set up a bunker.
I think the other option for Cyclone coupling is if you see a lot of DPS on the other side, you can play a dive. So once you now walk into this defensive positioning from Nova, which will be some sort of bunker indeed with the Torb, with the Orisa in play, high ground control. I don't think this is really where most of the hold's going to happen. You can see a lot of members also on the cafe. They could be kind of picked out by Li Changsoon on the Widowmaker. That is something that Nova have to be careful of.
I mean, I can tell you this much. It's an interesting spam angle that you get out from a Ting plus the turret here, but I feel like you'd rather have a Ting shield in front of the rest of the team.
You would, especially because look at the spam coming through from Cyclone coupling now. It's double sniper, hold hook combo. A lot of members not behind the shield on the cafe section. Nova should be losing members pretty quickly.
The hold hook could be the most devastating as well when you consider Shailin and Burner, even with the shield down, will always be isolated, but nice catch on Li Changsoon. The Ting just dropped to ground, which exposes Mui's turrets. That will get finished off. Shailin, so far, been able to hover around this roof and not really be too threatened.
Well, he's taking a decent amount of damage. That's with the Li Changsoon down, so there was a position, an opportunity for Shailin to maybe get a bit more done. Li Changsoon now on a flank, expecting Cyclone coupling to push in.
Oh, nice biotic grenade actually out onto Fallen and Technical. Li Changsoon ends up going down as well. Picked the wrong kind of fight.
Nice place for Shailin to just kind of see the respawners and say, okay, I'll take this 1v1. He's probably not expecting me to come to him from spawn. And now Cyclone coupling losing their position. They're going to rotate to the side and still haven't really found anything yet. You expect them to at least get Shailin down.
They also haven't really charged up any ultimates just yet. They're still waiting on some. They're getting close though. Nice catch on Mui. That should be their opportunity to open things up. Li Changsoon just doing the work right now. Nova MS going to try and push back in while they've still got a window. They do have the ultimates to work with as well. See if they can maybe finish some of these members off. They're getting a few low, but not quite getting it done.
Nano Boost was used on Nuns already. Here comes that Dragon Strike now to remove that defensive positioning.
Nice Rocket Barrage, though. Takes out GCGG, but it's a 1-for-1. And Rezzers come in, and suddenly the fight absolutely explodes into motion. Technical, though, stunned and demeched. Nova MS are going to come out the better of that trade. Shylin goes down late, but GCGG still gets confirmed. Nova MS looking poised to cap here. Molten Core will have to be invested at the end of the fight to secure it, but that is a lot of time burned off the clock.
And now for Cyclone Coupling, you expect them to have a respawn advantage in the sense that, okay, Defenders lost a lot of members as well. They're going to take longer to get back from spawn, but Cyclone Coupling are also playing unreasonably slow, in my opinion, where, you know, they have the kind of comp that can really do a lot of damage to members who are not playing behind a shield. They even had some players an advantage to start with. But you're in a space now where Nova, because they just slow things down here, they get the counter trades. Shylin's still doing so much, Mui's still doing so much. Cyclone Coupling are not able to find focus.
Cyclone Coupling also going to go over onto the pharmacy of their own. They did have more success against Shylin with that when they've used it. Self-destruct forward from Nuns doesn't really find much, but Fallen super low, might just live up to his namesake in a moment. Technical again, stunned, demeched, close to what would have been a self-destruct to at least preserve that mech potentially. But here's that dogfight between Jackie and Shylin. It's Shylin finding the rocket. Jackie has to pull in Red Fox. Will get out.
It's a Nano as well.
Yeah,
they really want to push damage onto him.
But
this is going to actually help him get this rocket barrage back online as well. Oh, Holt's going to confirm a nice direct.
Yeah, that's really big. It allows Shylin to just absolutely drill down on the damage. And again, it's just forcing Cyclone Coupling back.
And time is being wasted, so much time. 35 seconds remaining, not a single tick. Cyclone Coupling are not making any ground, not really getting any picks here while this neutral fight's going on. Nova MS are coming out ahead.
Whoa, Jackie gets above his counterpart, and even then it's a huge chunk of damage, but they find Shylin. That is the really important part of that. Good counter trade on Technical as he self-destructs, only finds the supercharger. Nova MS, not really in too bad a spot when you consider that opener, but now Jackie can really push on in. Suddenly Nova MS are in a much worse spot, looking to wrap around, find the rocket barrage to the backside, finds Burner, finds Nuns. That is the opening that Cyclone Coupling needed. Tell you what, though, took them a very, very long time.
And I was super surprised to see Lee Chang-soon not on the Widowmaker. Has eventually changed back, and as soon as he does that, you don't have Shylin kind of expecting it. He's obviously caught out by surprise, caught out surprised by Lee Chang-soon finally finds it pick on. That was after the Nano Boost was used on Shylin as well. Finally removing that problem allows them to put focus on a couple of other members. They walk up to the point, get a lot more done this time. Turret's gone for Mui. Mui's super late on the Molten Core as well, not going to really do much to save the cap at all. And finally they will get that cap through, but they got a long way to go here. It was in overtime, don't have a lot of time to work with, and they got to finish the whole map.
It's a lot of ground to make up, you got to say. Nova MS did have to make a compositional swap though, so that's the opportunity here for Cyclone Coupling, but good hack on Technical means a lot of pressure just to back out. Nova MS pushing forward. Shylin though finds himself flashbanged and killed, so Cyclone Coupling still eating a lot of pressure, but they've got a numbers advantage. They should start pushing back. We'll finally be able to make that headway back onto the car.
Too many low members for Nova MS means they do have to back out for now, and that's going to be another staggered kill. And Cyclone Coupling are finding a decent comp to work with. You have the double stun, the flashbang from McCree, the shield bash from the Brigida as well. This kind of comp is really going to put a ton of pressure on Shylin playing Tracer, Nuns playing a Sombra.
Yeah.
And you got to think for Nuns now, they are being out-comped. They are now the ones not playing the correct composition against Cyclone Coupling.
And this is what we've been wanting to see out of Cyclone Coupling. A proper answer to whatever it is Nova MS want to throw at them. The bash bang, as we call it. Great way to deal with the Tracer Sombra. They can't even get damage around the side on GCGG, who didn't even have Sleep Dart up at the time.
I don't think you want to see Lee Chang-soon too far in a flank. He does need to get pocketed. But while that's happening, the two flankers wasting a bit of time. Cyclone Coupling walk in, clean up, and look to cap.
Just smack through the front while the flankers are dilly-dallying on the side. Suddenly, Cyclone Coupling have made up for a lot of the lost time on A.
Super important as well. If you want to get a competitive time bank, not going to get the 144, but maybe you'll get one. Maybe you'll get something here. That's really what Cyclone Coupling are looking for. But now you have opportunity. Nova MS, Shylin is back on the Brigida. Nuns has an EMP. They can make the play happen. Mui on the Zarya. They're going to go standard, and it should offer them at least a winning fight on the C defense.
Big emphasis on should, because, I mean, at this point, Cyclone Coupling look a bit more comfortable.
At least the should works in favor of Nova MS. When they should be winning, they have been. When Cyclone Coupling should be winning, The track record this game hasn't been great. Big EMP now.
There it is, right on to everyone but Technical, who does at least get a self-destruct. It's only one member down. So the rest of Cyclone Coupling actually successfully retreat. That's about as good as you could ask for. A Ting nearly going down, but will get out with his life. So that's actually not the greatest out of Nova MS. It does at least waste some time.
It does reset though, and resetting pressure is still going to be important. As you start to see Nova MS move towards more of a standard composition, Cyclone Company can do the same thing. Dead Eye, will it catch somebody?
Heavens, would you look at the time? Doesn't find anyone, but it does again create space, create pressure, force Nova MS back a little bit, who now want to push back in with the help of Sound Barrier. Losing some members though, Cyclone Coupling, and unfortunately for them, Nova MS going to push them further back. If they do cap out now, I don't know that we would still call it a competitive time.
So now we're going back to more fundamentals. We kind of shied on the idea of, okay, will there be a bit of a 3-3 mirror here? Probably not going to be the pure mirror, but the closest we're going to get is, at least for a time, the McCree kind of goats composition from Cyclone Coupling now on the full 3-3, and the Sombra goats from Nova MS, who look like they are definitely being able to hold a good position now. 30 seconds remaining.
Nuns still going to charge up an EMP that could be a bit of a full stop on this. This is Mui's grab isn't enough on its own, and it's looking decent. Good connection. There we go, finding Li Chang soon, and fired a grenade really helped deal with GCGG's Transcendence. Now Jackie as well. Less than 15 seconds on the clock. It looks like that will be the last hurrah.
EMP coming online for Nuns.
Might not even need it. We'll probably use it anyway because
no one can touch the point.
Don't want to risk it, and that's the thing. No one's even close. EMP out. No one going to be able to touch it. Nova MS, no problem. 3-0 now in the series. They've unequivocally won it. The question is, will it be a clean sweep?
And I think when you even really break down Hollywood as well, okay, you look at the DC in the middle, didn't really affect the team for the Nova side for their attack. Overall, pretty clean the entire way through.
They still won that fight 5-6.
The only points where you have to look at Nova and think what's going on here is, okay, that entire B defense, bit of a write-off. They played, again, the entirely wrong composition versus what Cyclone Coupling were bringing out to bear. And that's a big problem, and they fix it almost immediately. We get to see a very quick cap on the offense, but on the defense, is saying, all right, well, we can play more of a standard here. We'll leave Nuns on the Sombra. Everyone else will play standard 3-3 picks, force the mirror to come through for the side of Cyclone Coupling, and then win that mirror.
I mean, it's kind of what we were talking about, right? We're like, okay, we've seen them play all these asymmetric things. If they do just play mirror compositions, do they still win? Well, we've answered that now. I feel like really we've answered everything, every kind of question we had about Nova MS, and the only ones left are going to be, will anyone else in this pool challenge them before Talon? And then after that, the question be, who's better between Nova MS and Talon? And look, I know it's only the first match, and I know we haven't even finished it, but this is a massive statement from Nova MS, and it's exactly what we wanted to see out of them this season.
And a super strong starter. You even just fixing mistakes very quickly in the middle of the game, acknowledging what went wrong, and then being able to come through with an answer. Again, in the same game, in the same beat is super important moving forward. And speaking of moving forward, the match does still continue. Map 4 still in the cards. It will be Escort. Let's go ahead and find out what that's all about.
Welcome to Watchpoint Gibraltar. This is Escort. Two teams face off as either defenders or attackers. This is the payload. The attacking team has a limited amount of time to escort the payload along a set path containing 3 checkpoints. The payload only moves forward when an attacker stands near it. Defenders can delay the payload's movement by standing nearby at the same time. To get moving again, attackers must clear away the defenders by force. Every time the payload reaches a checkpoint, the attackers score 1 point and gain additional time on the clock. If even one attacker is near the payload when the clock runs out, the game enters overtime. This extends play indefinitely until the attackers are either cleared off the payload or they gain more time by reaching a checkpoint. The round ends when the payload reaches the destination or when time runs out. Teams switch sides each round. Whichever team scores the most points and escorts the payload farthest wins.
Going to a couple of nice picturesque European destinations today. We are going to be hitting up Rialto for Escort. Map we saw a fair chunk of last season. It was sort of the go-to for a number of these teams. So I'm excited to see how this one pans out because, I mean, again, this is just one of those maps where, like, we see totally non-standard. I say standard if we can even call it that right now, but I want to see more cool stuff out of Nova MS.
Well, I think you're definitely going to get a DPS opening for Nova MS and possibly even Cyclone Coupling, maybe slightly less for the Cyclone Coupling side, at least on A, moving through to B. C, you're going to see potentially standard. I think for the side of Nova MS, very similar to Hollywood, right? You're going to get a place where unless Shailin or whoever is really pulling the DPS, unless they get answered, you're going to just see them play it up until where they really can't anymore, which is going to be C, and that's going to be it. For Cyclone Coupling, if they're going to find a win here, they need to do super well on a standard 3-3, possibly use the Sombra as well, and that can get them a lot of mileage in most of this map.
I hope. I mean, here's the thing. I do, as much as we're talking about how positive this is for Nova MS, you know, the last season was meant to be okay. They made the playoffs the season before, but they didn't quite win it. Maybe that one, season 1 of this year could be they make playoffs and they win, but they had a rougher season in a lot of ways. This is great. I like that they're off to a really strong start, but we do have to talk about the other side of this, which is Cyclone Coupling, because Cyclone Coupling have also kind of hovered around like a feeling of potential greatness and just never quite got there. If anything, we feel like they've fallen further and further away from that since Season 3 of last year. So I want to see Rialto push into a realm of at least competitiveness. And as I said earlier in the night, if this does end up being an 0-4, then hey, whatever we see out of Cyclone Coupling next week, I want to see some serious lessons learned.
So let's talk about Cyclone Coupling in terms of how they've done so far across the various seasons. They made a top 4 performance, semi-final performance in Season 3. They even knocked out Talon Esports in that quarterfinal, so pretty big from them. Going into last season, 5th and 6th place finish, which was lower than expected. This time around, if they're not careful and can't read too much into one match, but you don't want to be in striking distance from the Trials teams. And for Cyclone Coupling, one more opportunity to maybe prove that they are still a leg up above that tier. Both teams now looking at A. I said maybe Cyclone Coupling wouldn't go for it, but they are. Yep. Even on the defense here, it's going to be fire on both sides. It's going to be Widows on both sides, which is going to make it very difficult for both of those players, and a lot of work done for the Mercies as well. It'll be a very explosive beginning on Rialto.
Credit to Jackie and also to a lesser extent Lee Chang-soon. They have had some ability to answer Nova MS. It's just not quite been enough. But maybe they can just push, dig a little bit deeper.
By the way,
people in these DPSs.
Fallen is very unhappy to see that Mui started on Hanzo because, well, that's going to make it very difficult for him to keep his shield up for the most part. Nova MS looking for any early flanks they can get, looking for any early picks, as you already see the defense peeling themselves backwards, taking a bit more of a far back position. Someone's going to remember to push, though.
Yeah, that is kind of important. Nova MS will just need to take their time for this little bit, but as they start to round into the courtyard, that's where things will get really explosive. That's where both Lee Chang-soon and Inin and also Mui really will be looking for picks. And actually, it's a Teng who finds
backline
the opening frag. That's really huge as well. It just opens up a lot of potential. Nice find on Mui, but there's still a lot of damage opportunities here for Nova MS where they could just find picks on squishier members.
So Lee Chang-soon's got a big job because he's got to be the one to shut down both Shailin and Inin. And because he's taking such an odd angle on the side, it's very safe because he doesn't want to fight in, but he wants to find a possible angle to take down Shailin. Shailin is able to play in this gap in particular, which is usually quite dangerous for a Pharah player, but he's able to do a lot.
This is where Jackie can maybe start to open up. He does. He wins that dogfight. He has often come off the better of those exchanges and able to get Red Fox back in the pocket as well. Keeps pressure onto Burner, so no res, and Nova MS is going to make a swap.
This is what happens when you remove the Widowmaker from the equation. On the other side, you have Jackie saying, Inan's not going to challenge me. I'm going to fly directly into you, look for the directs, and win the dogfight in the air, which is exactly what was able to happen. If that didn't happen, Lee Chang-soon was probably going to pop a headshot directly into Shailin as well.
Whoa.
You talked about the swaps coming through. Mui's going to go down super quick to the member that he has to put pressure on. not a good start for Nova.
And he was in the water as well. He's unresable. Lee Chang-soon is resable. Mui does it the closer respawn, but it just slows down Nova MS's ability to put pressure on. They finally start to open up a bit on this back line, but they didn't quite finish off Lee Chang-soon. Took them a very long time. Still a numbers advantage for Nova MS with the EMP in now as they start to push in, looking to close this out. And there you have it. It took a long while, though, you've got to say, for Nova MS to really start getting ahead of steam there.
And finding the right comp is really decent as well. If they don't want to play this real grindy kind of scenario where you're looking for spam damage, you're looking for pick potential on Widow and Pharah, you just want to press the issue, you want to put the pressure on, you play this kind of strike team between a Ting and Shylin to get those picks, and now with the mines out on the field, they want to make sure no one contests.
Really like that positioning from that there. They still lose nuns, though. Mui down to the self-destruct. This is now very doable with Cyclone coupling. That's a little unfortunate. GCGG would have potentially come in with a Transcendence as well, but despite the good work from Cyclone coupling, you're right, the cap still went through, so it's all for now.
This is going to be Cyclone coupling looking again for another positioning, and can't be flying in the open air when Mui's on the field with the McCree available, and perhaps a swap will come through for the side of Cyclone coupling as well. If it does, they should be looking to go back into a standard 3-3. They're actually going to go for bit of a dive. It's technically triple DPS instead, which could be risky.
Big yikes. Fallen took some pain. Shylin able to wrap around to get the follow up. Now I'm starting to answer technical on the backline as well, so...
And you know what? I don't really like the composition from Cyclone Company because you're going up against Mui, who's playing the McCree, so you could just lose a lot of members to that. So Transcendence does get forced out as well.
It's kind of like a tempo Transcendence just to try and stick in the fight a bit longer, because otherwise the pressure that was still mounting was going to get Fallen and potentially a lot more. Even then, they're still able to make some picks come through. Looking to finish off Fallen here. If they can get that one out of Mui, that would at least give the
free
fight
reload.
Even. So that's going to be a 2 for 2, now a 3 for 2 as GCGG goes down. It's been trades so far. Nice pulse bomb onto Red Fox as the race came through, and then GCGG goes down anyway. So again, Nova MS, look, even when Cyclone coupling run relatively even in terms of kills, Nova MS gets slightly the better hand dealt, and they keep the payload moving.
And the other thing is, that's right, the keep the payload moving is going to be the most important one. This is going to be now finally a bit of a stop up. More kills coming through from Cyclone coupling as you see the cap rather. Perhaps get finished by their card, but unfortunately not going to be the case. Nova making some swaps happen. Mui onto the Zarya. Shylin possibly will swap onto the Brig now as well. EMP available. They still have such a great win condition moving forward. You do expect the cap to come sooner rather than later.
Really want to credit Lee Chang-soon actually in that 1v1. Shylin is a phenomenal Tracer player, and Lee Chang-soon kind of went toe-to-toe with him almost effortlessly, I have to say. But at any rate now, moving forward, that won't be a 1v1 that we'll see, at least in this next fight.
And if Jackie can dodge the EMP and then dodge the subsequent manual hack, you can possibly see a decent amount done from this Dragon Blade, but no, he's caught.
Yep, first EMP is out from Nuns as well. Technical has to wait this one out. By the time he's able to commit his, he's already going to have lost 2 of his teammates. Jackie's still going to go in and look for something. A lot of squishy members, a lot of potential targets, but still gets manually hacked as well. Can't even benefit from Technical's EMP, which I dare say was not the strongest. It only got Mui, who will lose the mech, but won't even die, and Nova MS just steamroll through this.
You're starting to see now, okay, what does this team look like when they play more standard? Well, Mui's actually going to be the even now. They actually have a decent amount of flexibility.
Yeah.
And Jackie attempting to come back on the Doomfist, going to go back very quickly to spawn. Expecting a big snowball from Nova MS as they clean up even more staggered respawns.
It's a lot of free space, you got to say. It's free real estate. Nova MS, they've still got a couple of ultimates to work with as well. Soon to charge up the nano boost will be a big one.
And going on to a standard, Fallen still has the primal raise, so we'll stay on the Winston for now, expecting both main tanks to move on to the Ryan pretty soon. Fallen did cop a sleep. Cop's a hack now.
Yeah, it's now Cop's a stun, and it still hasn't died impressively, but Nova MS going to be able to commit a sound barrier. Shylin asleep for the time being, has taken a bit of a pressure off, but a team going deep and they're able to finish off GCGG. He stays alive for now, lands on the roof, which actually leaves him exposed for long enough for Technical to find that. EMP out though from Nuns means they keep the pressure on. Cyclone coupling aren't just going to go belly up on this one, they're still getting some trades. Nova MS, again, though, they just always seem to get more trades.
And it was a bit of a risky play because they were already down on members.
Huge bio-nade.
It is, but it's just going to give them some ult charge. GCGG will have to live with that one. Nova MS, because they end up cleaning a few more members despite the late EMP, still managed to get a few to push forward this card into a position where, okay, win one more fight and then they'll be on that final push initiative. Zarya grab coming through soon for Lee Chang-soon.
They go ahead and commit before the grab comes out, though, but it ends up biting them in the bum there as a team goes down and now might be able to not even use the grab. Maybe not, though, the counter trade. Cyclone coupling need to figure out what they want to commit to this fight. And Nova MS have decided to stick in. This time they don't just end up out-fragging, so there's going to be that grab. Might not have actually
like a one-man grab.
Necessary, a little bit wacky. They were kind of already ahead in the fight, but at any rate, they close that fight out, and now we enter one-fight territory.
All right, 30 seconds to go means that Cyclone Coupling can actually complete the hold here as well. If things continue to go well, they're in a decent position where 3 ultimates, double defensive ones, or double support ones, 1 really defensive ultimate, which has to be the key to sort of block out Nuns' EMP coming soon. 90% on that charge. If Red Fox gets caught by the EMP or kind of gets taken down early, this could just be the defense shattered on the side of CYC.
It's very make or break here for Nuns. Oh, man.
Already a bad
Technical
start.
throws a self-destruct in, it gets nothing, and then it finds back huge EMP. There's going to be the sound barrier to deal with it, though. And they get more value. Nova MS, they've still got a lot to work with here. Shatter out. They can't quite follow up on that one, even as it landed on Red Fox. Now their own sound barrier. Nuns takes a stun, but he will be okay. As the Shatter from Fallen, not the hottest. And Ting Fresh out the sides. But now the shoes on the other foot is Fallen. Super Low will go down to his counterpart. And this is where Nova MS just want to put their foot on the gas. Overtime is there, but big numbers advantage.
That's a big kill.
Start onto Lee Chang-soon, and they can just keep taking them out one by one. Next on the list is Technical. Who's the name below that one? They're maybe going to look for one of these supports, probably Red Fox here, who will be stalling. Indeed, is the next casualty. Fallen going to go down for a second time. Grab on the payload in case anyone dare come close so that they can be DPS down. And in overtime, Nova MS will cap.
And the overtime is actually so important for this kind of push because as they go into player advantage, the respawns are just slower. You're looking at Lee Chang-soon, looking at his ult shots, 94, 95%. Where's this grab going to come from? Goes down just as the grab maybe comes up.
That's what that was. Brilliant.
And then you see on the respawns as well, because it's an overtime, he just can't come back quickly enough.
Yeah.
If it wasn't an overtime, you possibly see the entire team come together. The grab from Lee Chang-soon maybe rescues the defense. As Cyclone Coupling get to fight another day, or in this case, they just get to complete the hold because, you know, we're heading in towards overtime anyway. But it's not going to be the case. On Rialto, we often say very difficult to complete the map, and even for a team so far ahead as Nova MS in this entire matchup, in terms of skills, scores, and everything, they only managed to cap in the overtime to complete the entire map, which now doesn't give you a lot of confidence for Cyclone Coupling's own offense.
I do want to give a little bit of a shout out here, though, to Lee Chang-soon on Cyclone Coupling. He's kind of been the beacon of light in among this. It's not that things have been terrible for Cyclone Coupling, mind you. Nova MS are just a really difficult opponent, but Lee Chang-soon has always showed up no matter the pick. He's had a lot of value at times on Widowmaker. He's done a good bit of his job. It's just been a tough job. And then even for the brief bit we saw him on Zarya, the ultimate uptime was phenomenal from him, was just shy of a second grab within the space of 30 seconds when that last fight came to its conclusion and he died, but it's like he's getting so much value but not quite enough, and it feels like if the team could lean into him a bit more, they could get more done.
I still need a little bit more persuasion to really buy into that, at least for the time being. I'd say no one's really... Well, that's a beginning.
Hello.
Starting to swing maybe slightly further. Again, a little bit more persuasion still required.
As you said, every time you say it, he headshots someone else.
Well, keep bringing it on then.
Oh, keep them coming. A bit more persuasion. It's not quite convinced, and up there's another one. Actually, would have been hilarious if he got Nuns there. But at any rate, they are slowly but surely pushing Nova MS out of here. This is a lot quicker than what Nova MS themselves did. So this is where Cyclone Coupling can really make up some time.
And this is where Nova MS, compositionally, they didn't play the Widowmaker this time. That's a big mistake because you do expect the Pharmacy to potentially come out on offense. It's pretty common. They ran it themselves. Yep. They're running Mui on the Torb, which is the mistake. He's now coming back on a proper hit scan. He will be able to contest pretty soon, but the amount of ground they've already lost is quite staggering.
I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they lose the cap. They're going to move in now to contest it. They do barely get the boots here, but this is a very awkward position. The tanks kind of have to juggle the aggro a little bit of the entire team, and unfortunately, Nuns is going to go down for that to be enabled. A Ting as well now, and the floodgates absolutely open. Nova MS not going to get anything out of this courtyard defense.
I'll tell you what, the other thing is Lee Chang-soon's not being pressured at all. Because there's no Widowmaker on the other side, you don't even really count a McCree in that equation because in a long-range duel, which is what's going to happen, you're not going to beat the Widowmaker. So for Jackie and for Lee Chang-soon, just really easy pickings. Take a look at that opening pick now.
Beautiful. Are you convinced yet?
That's the same kill that wasn't enough to convince me, so no.
But he's had more since then.
Yes, but the reason for that is because Nova are not playing the right composition, so it doesn't count.
I would like to see NN maybe move back on to that Widowmaker. I mean, you can understand why they want the Ana here. Yeah, it's...
No, I think you want the double supports for sure. You want to move towards more of a standard play. Oh, that's a decent pick right to start with.
Yeah, but really decent counter trades, actually. Jackie only getting the one and ends up going down. It's a little bit ski-whiff right now. Red Fox has a res, but now losing the extra member in Lee Chang-soon means even a res only brings them up to even in this particular instance, and that means Cyclone Coupling, I think, are just going to take this as an L.
That's already a reset. This is already a very quick reset versus the offense, and remind yourselves about how long it took for Cyclone Coupling to actually reset Nova's offense. It took them nearly until C. We're already getting into what is going to be now a pure 3-3 mirror. In fact, both teams playing the exact same composition. No excuses now. There's no Sombras. There's no one pick to really put things, throw things into the wind. It's going to now come down to pure fundamentals of GOATs versus GOATs. Who does it better?
And I dare say, even in the slightly asymmetric GOATs we saw previously, Nova MS had the better fundamentals. We'll see if that rings true as we come into the flat mirror matchup.
He just gets a free kill.
That's the thing, already just getting a lot done right now. Technicals on the wrong side of this one is going to end up in the drink, and I mean, Cyclone Coupling making no headway, not even really getting a ball rolling on ultimates, and that is a gross charge. They're going to be able to possibly pick Fallen, indeed will confirm that kill, and they're getting so much free value here.
That was just a crazy charge where he just maybe was trying to whiff something, just like, oh, I'll just put this one in there. If I don't hit anybody, I'll go into the wall and be in a position where I can put more damage, and if I do hit somebody, that's going to be a kill, and he does. Incredible from him. But you also see a Ting. He receives a nano, walks up, instantly takes down Jackie. That's like a 1v6 because no one else from Nova was backing a Ting up just by himself. He was enough to walk up and get that kill. Cyclone Coupling, none the wiser, couldn't do anything about it.
Nova made a lot of these tank swaps around the same time as Cyclone Coupling. Look at how much more headway they've made in terms of ultimates. Cyclone Coupling are at such a deficit in the macro game right now. It's a bit of an awkward self-destruct. Will end up getting nothing. Let's see if Technical gets a bit more. He will go down for his trouble. He does find a Ting though, so call it a 1-for-1. That's what you want. Fallen Shatter. No ability to follow up.
Sound barrier counted as well.
There anyway. Nova MS, though, are slipping a little. They're losing a bit of ground here.
Let's take a look at the ult charge for Lee Chang-soon. The Graviton Surge could be the swing factor. No defense on the side of Nova MS, and they have a player advantage.
That really takes some pressure off, actually, with the Brigida dead. Lee Chang-soon, look, they do still have the Diva to worry about, but he can just kind of walk up. He's not as threatened. A Ting is back in the fray here, but he's already quite low. They look for a nano boost on him, see if he can get something done, but he has to actually
see the grab
back. He's so far away.
There it comes finally. A Ting's going to get caught in, and the nano's been dissipated. He should be taken down. If they fail to get a Ting, this might not be a good fight for Cyclone.
They used the defense matrix just to stop most of the shots that were going onto a Ting. Now their own grab is there, but nice answer with the sound barrier, and finally Cyclone Coupling get the headway that they needed. Nova MS. Some cute plays there, keeping a Ting in the mix for a bit longer between the nano boost and the defense matrix, but ultimately they do crumble. Cyclone Coupling come out the better, and they're keeping good time.
A CYC really take you to the edge of your seat and keep you there, because for a few moments you're thinking, okay, if we don't see the grab, Nova probably get a pick here. It looks pretty bad. They stay alive. They catch a Ting. They wait for the nano to sort of disappear first, and now we're in a C push where there's still a decent amount of time remaining. Can they finish the map? It's certainly on the cards, but they have to maintain momentum to do so.
Looking to push out a little bit.
Big catch.
The self-destruct. It's a little bit wild right now, but finding a Ting is a really nice opener. Nova MS on the back foot as we come into the rest of this engage.
Grab coming through as well. A lot more damage. Fallen's alive. He's just going to add the hammer kills in. This is the kind of momentum we're talking about here, because Nova MS have not been allowed to catch their breath. Cyclone Coupling are potentially even able to cap here if they can continue this with time remaining.
They've got the ultimates as well. Nova MS, they're coming close to a grab, they're coming close to a transcendence, but honestly, Cyclone Coupling still have things to work with.
The grab and the transcendence will be bigger, but we do need to see them ASAP. We do need to see something from Nova.
Now they're going to have a shatter. There'll be no particular defensive ultimate to answer it if Fallen gets good connection, which he does. One must say, does go down for his trouble. They aren't quite able to get the second kill in a mix with that. A nice grab will pull the wind out of Cyclone Coupling's sails. They are going to have to back off, but they're only one fight away from capping, and they've still got plenty of time.
And this is the cost of running the Ana, because you don't have the Transcendence here. Red Fox doesn't have the sound barrier, so as soon as Mui has a Graviton Surge available, and we see that in is holding onto the Transcendence, they have the best defensive play they require. They also have the best offensive play to really win the fight as well. When you look at Cyclone Coupling, yeah, sure, they can get this in one push, but there's only 1 minute remaining. They've run out of resources, and they've been reset.
Lee Chang-soon super close to another grab. I mean, his uptime has been phenomenal. This is why what I was talking about when I meant leaning into him. Let's see if they can pull it off, though.
He's got to grab pretty soon, otherwise supports will come into play as well. The time is running out here. Burner on 90.
Oh, nice sleep on Nuns. That was an opportunity. That's the window. They throw it in. Self-destruct layered on. Grab. It was the sound barrier to answer. Nuns self-destruct finds Red Fox. That's a good counter trade. Lee Chang-soon is low despite the potential damage output. They're trying to finish off some more of these kills, but MS are not budging. They're not giving up any ground, and now they rotate into ultimates of their own. In saves the fight with a timely Transcendence and Mui's grab as well to put the pressure on Cyclone Coupling, who have no such support ultimate to keep them in the fight any longer. Won't be this fight, probably won't be the next one, because we're under 10 seconds, and it looks like Nova MS are going to hold out Rialto and complete a 4-0.
And I tell you what, Cyclone Coupling, if they chose this hill to die on and die on it, they will. If they had just given up after taking the ultimates away from Nova MS, you saw the Transcendence come through, you saw the sound barrier, you saw even the nano boost. You say, okay, hold on to the shatter, hold on to our own nano boost, just walk away from this one, just be in a position where 30 seconds remaining, we can possibly get a bit of a respawn wave. I think it was even more than 30 seconds. We're going to get another fight. They choose that to be the final fight. They choose this is going to be where we make it happen.
Yeah.
You don't have the time to respawn now. You're still in a deficit. You're not going to be able to win. Like I said, that's the hill they want to die on. That's exactly what's going to happen.
And I mean, that was just a straight miscall in a way. Like, they actually had control of that situation like you just described. So a little bit unfortunate to see that happen. That could have at least gone to a time bank. A time bank that Cyclone Coupling by rights could have had an advantage in, even if only a slight one, even if it's 10 seconds, that's still an advantage. Last time we saw them go into a time bank with an advantage, though, that was on Assault. They did still end up losing that map. So you've got to say, as we look back across the whole series, the 4-0, all the times where Cyclone Coupling were close, 80% on both maps of Nepal, time bank with the biggest half of it on Paris, they were still never, ever actually coming out the better of the fights that mattered.
And I started to get excited. You start to think, okay, Cyclone Coupling have the real momentum. Talk about the fact that if we get on to see how they're really going to be able to win is they keep that pressure going, they keep the momentum forward, keep the staggered kills coming and flowing through, and then maybe they get towards the end. They get within one push, one fight's worth of distance remaining, but that was it. After you lose that one, my expectation for them to cap completely gone, because the reset on momentum is so crucial that once you've lost that and you're down to 1 minute, it's very unlikely you ever get that back again. So unfortunately, as soon as they lost that fight, the game was probably over.
You do see glimmers there. And also on the other side of that, you do see, shall we say, a chip in the armor for Nova MS, whose defense, especially on the first part of Rialto, really didn't look too hot. And we saw a couple of other places across the series where Nova MS's defense had some question marks around it. That will be what they want to fix up coming into their next match across this series. But if those weaknesses remain, then that's what other teams are going to pounce on, because Nova MS, as we said, are one of the two teams to beat here.
Some weaknesses are going to be easier to fix than others, and of the easier weaknesses to fix, it's going to come down to compositional errors, which is ultimately what cost them let's be quite fair on that one. If you don't play, in my opinion, if you didn't start with the Widowmaker in defense, you're going to lose to the fire on the other side. Mui's not going to get that much done as Torb. Look, it's cute. You made Torb work on a couple of the other maps. But honestly, if you didn't play the Torb, I think you would have rolled over them anyway. So that wasn't going to be the X factor for them. You see on Hollywood as well, on that B defense, made the wrong call on composition again. That costed them their entire point. So if they make the right kind of calls and compositions, that mistake kind of goes out the window and they look even better. But even that aside, they look good. They still got the 4-0. They still are one of the teams that we said are going to be the ones to beat. But on our opening day here of Contenders in Pacific, we still do have one more match to go. So when we come back from the break, it's going to be newcomers Far East Society taking on last season champions, defending champions, Talon Esports right after this break.